Da-da-da-da.
This is the pilot episode of our first broadcast, and it's a show where the three of us are going to just rifle through a round of topics, and we're all going to take about 2 minutes per and say whatever comes up on our minds having to do with that topic. So I'm Don Kleppin. I'll be hosting this shindig. I'm joined by Pat Perez, a good friend of mine, who joins me every week for the Odd Carrot extravaganza. And we are joined this week by Joseph Room, a kind and lovely man who is loaning his talents to our broadcast. So with that being said, we're going to get this thing kicked off. You guys ready to go?
Absolutely.
Down.
My man. All right, here we go. Sports.
So I've been starting I did it again. Fantasy football. I said Final Fantasy like 5 times,
Nice.
but fantasy football, and I don't do sports that well. It's not my thing. But let me tell you, I'm first in my fantasy league. I'm 3-0.
Awesome.
I'm killing it.
How good does that feel?
It's interesting because it gives you almost more of appreciation for football as a whole because it's not just your team you're rooting for.
Exactly, and you're paying attention to the other games because
Exactly.
there are players that are on your radar, and it directly affects your fortune.
It distracts you from the sad reality of being a Bears fan at this moment.
You know, I will tell you.
There you go, too.
Yeah.
It's the fire sale, by the way, just picking up the Bears. I have to say, I have been totally shocked to see that they sold off Jared Allen yesterday for nothing, and John Bostic as well over to the Patriots. I feel like they're tanking the season. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now.
They're going for that draft pick.
They're totally going for the draft pick.
Screw it. We'll just...
They need a quarterback.
Right. Which is, you know what, I'll tell you, it's fine by me as a Packer fan because I'm just watching the dysfunction right in this town, and I get to watch the excellence take place up north, and I'm totally okay with it.
Well, yeah, the Packers are no stranger to good quarterbacks. I mean, go from one, then back to the other. The Bears, however, have never been able to find themselves a solid leader, which I think they're trying to find. But
yes, definitely. Not that franchise guy.
Right. That Cutler is definitely not.
Right, absolutely. And
but I got to give them credit for at least attempting to find a franchise guy and putting their faith in somebody. That's a big step.
Of course,
to show that faith.
absolutely. And the truth is that in the NFL, you cannot have a championship team without that quarterback. At least a quarterback at a certain level that's capable of getting you there. And I just don't think Cutler's that guy.
He's the leader of the team, and I don't think the team respects him enough at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Video games. Starting this one off, I'm going to go ahead and say that I've started playing this Tomb Raider game that was given for free this month by being an Xbox Gold member.
Oh, yeah.
And it is excellent. It's a couple years old. I think it's 2013, maybe 2012, but the game's still valued at like $30. Okay. So getting it for free through Xbox is excellent.
Sure.
And I've been playing it for the last 2 weeks, and it's like this survival type game. You gotta. It's this action RPG where you level up your gear and you're going around this forest. It's kind of like a Far Cry or like an Uncharted, something like that.
Is this like the newest one that they released, like right when the next gens first hit the market?
Yes, it is.
I heard good things.
Yeah, it's a really great game. It's much better than I was expecting when I downloaded it.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Also, he jumped on board. He got a Xbox One, Patrick, right here.
Congrats to Pat Perez.
I feel a little bit left out. I went the PlayStation 4 route.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
Let me tell you, it just appealed to me, and I'm glad I picked it up.
Get like us, I'll tell you.
I will say
get good scrub.
There is one reason why I didn't. I almost traded in my PS3 to get the Xbox to save a few bucks, but I thought I'm not going to because the Xbox does not actually have any good baseball games.
You're right about that.
And the PS3, their leading game is MLB The Show.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is an exclusive.
To be honest, I'd be willing to stick with PlayStation if they happen to put like one of the Cubs on the next MLB The Show or something. That's a memorabilia worth holding on to.
Which actually there's a very good chance of that. I think the way the Cubs are going right now is, I think that they very well could.
Secured that second wild card spot to make it in the playoffs. That's impressive.
That they did. Congrats to them for that because this is probably one of the only times I can remember that it's an exciting time to be a baseball fan in Chicago. I'll tell you that. Vegetables.
Broccoli.
Broccoli's good stuff. Got to eat your greens.
Yeah, you do have to eat your greens. Cruciferous vegetables. They're supposedly like broccoli and other things along those nature. A lot of health benefits.
Yeah.
I believe it was you. You were telling me a story about your stepdad, right? And he was talking about why he always eats tomatoes. That was you, right?
I'm not actually sure about that one. Sorry.
Something about potency.
Was that after he was locked in the wheelchair for 2 years?
Oh,
being
man.
a vegetable. Oh my God. Yes, regrettably. And why do we have to lock a vegetative person into a wheelchair? They're already locked into their state.
I bet metaphorically locked.
No,
Okay.
but I mean,
Anyway, yeah.
it's a spiritual existence on
Right.
many levels.
Either way, whether you're a vegetable or a regular person, dark leafy greens are where it's at.
Kale. Kale's a superfood.
It is.
What is with that kale?
Don't you
that
hear
kale
it everywhere
trend?
now, right?
Like-
I got a vegan person who just eats these little kale chips.
Here's
They
what
got a
you
little
do.
fucking pack of them.
Here's what you do. You get the kale, you cut it up, put it on a pan, put some oil on it, put it in the oven for 15 minutes, 350, bam, you get those kale chips.
Okay.
Salt them.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Really?
learned.
It's a good snack.
Okay.
I
It's a
learned.
tasty, toasty snack. Bam. Superfood.
It sounds a bit like maybe tastes like popcorn or something, like sort of like a
crunchy.
flavorless. Yeah.
Have you ever had those seaweed chips?
I have.
Those
yeah.
are not
Those
bad.
are okay.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
they're okay, but the kale's a little better. It's got a little more flavor.
I feel like the only way I'm eating kale is if I stick it on a burger or something. You know what I
Something
mean?
like that.
Instead of lettuce or whatever, like I could stick some kale on a burger and that'd be fine.
Those kale salads.
You know, maybe if you threw it like in some romaine and some iceberg, also with some kale. You know, they do that with spinach. I wouldn't just eat a bowl of raw spinach.
I know. I'll tell you though, for some reason, like I like potbelly salads a lot, but I need if I'm gonna have a salad, it's got to have a lot of meat in it.
No,
like
absolutely.
not a salad before my meal. Like if a salad is my meal, it's got to have a
gotta
lot
have
of meat
protein
in it.
and sustenance.
Cobb salad.
Yeah,
Cobb salads are excellent.
absolutely,
Absolutely excellent.
absolutely.
Transportation.
I feel like we're in the midst of the start of a movement to automated transportation.
What do you mean by that?
The Google self-driving cars and such.
I feel like that's the beginning. You know, I listened to a podcast once about the beginning of the elevator and how it was very similar, where at first it was human operated. There was always an operator inside the elevator, but over time, because of some unfortunately horrible accidents, people getting trapped in the elevator,
Sure.
you know, between floors, blah, 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 they decided to go with eventually an automated one that was more safer.
Oh,
And at first people were very confused. They were like, where's the person?
where's the person?
But then
Am I
over-
supposed to hit this fucking button myself?
Well,
Exactly.
yeah.
But then over time, they added this little red button that gives the rider. That's why the red button is on the elevator. It's to give the rider the impression of they're in control, even though they're actually not in control. All it does is just stop
I feel
the
like
car.
that's
at
a
all.
metaphor for society right there. We'll give you a little red button so you can feel like you're in control.
That's what they're saying is a possibility for the Google cars, that they're going to have, because they get into it. There's no steering wheel, so there's no control.
Yep.
But they put this little red button to make you think,
Right.
Oh, I can stop.
I can stop the car at any time. I think you and I were talking about, Pat, a few weeks ago. I was telling you that I think I read somewhere that by 2035, all cars will not have steering wheels in them, and it'll be at a point where it's not only that it'll be automated transportation, but it'll be forced automation, because when we have a majority of self-driving cars on the road, those cars are going to be moving at much faster speeds than they are right now. Right now, our speed limits are 70 miles per hour. When Google drives, when the robots are driving the cars themselves, or the cars are driving themselves, they can go at like 150 miles an hour, and it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Because the accuracy is computer precise.
Right.
You remove the human error
Right.
from the situation.
Well, and they're all dialed into the grid and the internet at all times, so they know what traffic is like, they know what their route is like, they know, and when everybody, like I said, when it's all connected vehicles all on the grid at the same time, they can move at much faster speeds.
Now, the one thought I had, the one concern, that's all great and dandy, and I think it's the best way to be. I think that you remove the human error, you save a lot of lives, and ultimately you make the transportation less stressful. People can actually just
Totally.
put that part aside. And I mean, think of it, cars would come standard with microwaves.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
The one thing that does come to
Hot
mind
pockets
is
on the go, man.
Hot
I
pockets
love
on the go.
it.
Toasters, everything would come
Yeah.
standard. But what does come to mind is, what about in a situation where in a split second you have to like drive out of wherever you are and suddenly drive into a new situation? Either you're in trouble or you just, usually it would be like a trouble situation.
Right.
Will there be enough know-how from the cameras to know, oh, hey, a car's about to hit me, or if I'm like on a track or something, or if I'm somewhere where something's about to happen that's unpredicted by the computer, that's not part of the network.
Right. I think that's the biggest concern with the self-driving cars is how safe are they, considering the second, like the less than a second it takes for, especially at those speeds, for something to happen. Is the car going to be? Is it possible that the car won't be able to take action in time, or what is the protocol for a human being intervening to be able to take over for the car, or something like that?
Or would it be a lot like an airplane where instead of open roads, you just get into like a subway type tunnel system where everyone just shoots through like an iRobot, where he's in that underground tunnel thing.
Actually, that might be right. I didn't think about like changing the roads or the infrastructure, but they may very well do that too. Yeah,
and that's a huge change. But I think we're in the midst of the beginning of that.
That's a great point. Politics.
Where do you start with politics in 2015?
Donald Trump.
I gotta check my hair. I just gotta check my hair.
I'm going to start there because I got to tell you, I've been one of the guys that since Trump entered the race, I kind of saw him as that there's always a candidate to me that is like the media's favorite, and he's somebody that takes all the headlines and the attention before the committees, like the Republican National Convention, before they actually nominate who their candidate is for the role for running for president. So for me, like, Trump was just a clown. He was a guy that was just going to be someone taking the attention, someone the media could talk about until the Republican, they do pick who they're actually wanting to run. But now we're living in a world where Trump's poll numbers have been consistently number one, like the number one conservative candidate. And whether he runs as a Republican, if he gets their nomination, or if he runs as a third party, I think we are looking at a very high possibility that Trump will actually be a candidate for president. And what's scary to me is how many people that I meet in the real world who actually are behind the guy.
Support that.
I completely.
This is a man
that freaks me out.
Who embodies the worst of America, in my opinion. He's a bully. He's misogynistic.
He's a businessman who's made himself a fortune.
A xenophobic.
He's not a politician. He's not someone that should represent the masses. He's not someone that should speak for other people. He is a very successful businessman, and he is that way because he's himself.
I will counter what you just said.
Yes.
He is not a very successful businessman. He was handed a lot of money by his family's fortune, and according to the business world, he didn't do that well at first.
He's been bankrupt
several
three
times.
or four times.
That happens. That happens when you take risks. I'm talking about when he first started. He took that money and he squandered much of it, but thankfully he still had a lot left over. He can still do something with it.
Right.
But he was not very efficient at first. He became a businessman out of necessity because of the circles he was in.
Right.
What he is good at, he's an accomplished speaker and he's an accomplished presenter, and he has a lot of character and poise, which fools a lot of people that can't see past it.
Right. That's a great point, actually. And I think that's probably a lot to do with how many people are supporting him. I think it's people that are just like is kind of typical, unfortunately, is most of those opinions are relatively uninformed. So I think they're deciding to support a guy like Trump because they're not looking at things from the issues. They're looking at things like, hey, that's a guy who speaks his mind, and I like his style, and I think America should be more like that. So I'm going to vote for him.
And I think you make an excellent point along that line, because in all my times of watching Donald Trump speak, he never addresses anything that I think a presidential candidate should address. He doesn't address energy crises. He doesn't address immigration reform other than wanting to build a ridiculous wall. Mm-hmm. He doesn't address anything other than telling everybody why he's great and why you should vote for him. And where's his qualifications? At the end of the day, I would sooner vote for, another one of the Republican candidates who at least have a tenure and a track record of being a politician who know what's required.
Of which there are plenty still, by the way. Other Republican candidates. He's one of like 12 or 13 still.
He is, I think, the barometer of the country at the moment, the tester, the litmus test of where we're at on the level of sanity.
I agree. That's actually a great point. And I think more than anything, one thing I will say that Trump may accomplish and that would be beneficial to the country is legitimizing a third-party candidate. Because if he doesn't get picked by the Republicans, we may actually be looking at an election where a third-party guy like Trump may have a serious shot at winning, which could shake up the whole two-party system that I think has been stale in America for a long time.
Long time.
Netflix.
So I don't know how much you guys follow the memes of the internet, but one of the newest reoccurring memes is the whole Netflix and chill.
Oh, yeah.
Are you guys familiar with
Netflix?
the
Netflix and chill?
AKA,
honest to God.
AKA hang out and then bang.
And bang, yeah.
Pretty
No,
much,
that's what it is.
DC way to say hook up.
The whole Netflix and chill thing is basically it's one step away from asking a girl like, hey, like, you want a booty call? You want to come over and bang?
It really is.
You know that game Marry, Fuck, Kill?
Yes.
They play that on the Kiss FM morning. I'm turning through and they're going, would you marry, kill, or Netflix and chill with this person? I'm like, that's just marry, fuck, kill.
I know, yeah.
But that's the piece that, like,
they just
now
swapped,
they can play the game.
Right, and they just swap exactly on the air. On the air. Netflix and chill, yeah.
But I was just saying this meme has evolved into such a amorphous substance that now there's everything in chill. It's like 20 minutes into Star Trek and chill.
Right. Yeah, right.
It's like, where is this even coming from anymore?
I saw this great meme where it was just a guy who was like trying to encompass the Netflix and chill. It was like some black dude with a beard, or a beard, I'm sorry, and he leans against he's leaning against a tree, and he's got a big red Netflix T-shirt on, and he's got like a bag of ice in his hand, and he's just leaning, and it's like just the picture alone. It's like that embodies like the Netflix and chill. It's like it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny stuff. But I will say one thing, just, on Netflix, the two things I've been watching recently, Narcos, a Netflix original about Pablo Escobar and the Colombian cocaine trade in the 90s.
Oh, no shit. I bet that's interesting.
It's awesome. It's so good. I just finished 10 episodes.
It actually inspired me to try cocaine for the first time.
Oh, man. How'd you like that? See?
Well, I survived, first of all. I heard that sometimes I've heard sometimes
Not
it kills you instantly.
Totally.
So I made it.
Good for you. Glad you did.
And the second thing is I'm going to go to Colombia and I'm going to see if I can score some.
Awesome.
And stomp the grounds.
No, that's a great idea. And I think that Netflix would probably love to hear that they inspired you to do some real life changes.
Cannabis Kid. Have you guys seen Cannabis Kid? That's on Netflix. If you haven't seen Cannabis Kid,
I haven't. What is
highly
it, like a documentary
recommend it.
or something?
It's a documentary based on a real story, so it's not a real, but it's about
it's a fictional.
It's a fictional documentary of sorts. It's based on real events about this kid who becomes like this cannabis runner between the States and Canada. It's ridiculous. If you haven't watched it, I can't.
No,
I'm shocked.
I'll check it out. Yeah,
definitely
that's
recommend. Definitely recommend.
Final thing on Netflix is I've been watching Parks and Rec at your suggestion, Pat.
So
I literally never even seen it on network TV. I had never watched an episode of the show, and now I'm just about to finish season 4, and it is so incredible. It's actually we were talking about ruts and being like sort of like in an emotional down place. Parks and Rec has like these last few weeks I'm giving sole responsibility for like my happiness, basically. It's just watching that show has picked me up
I knew you'd love
much.
It. It's absolutely hysterical.
Everybody
really
on
is.
that show, between Nick Offerman and Aziz Ansari, phenomenal.
It's an amazing
phenomenal.
cast. And let me say, Aubrey Plaza is like, I have just fallen in love with her throughout the show. I don't know what it is about April's character that
the
just
combination of her and
Chris Pratt
playing that character.
Yeah, playing. It is just perfection. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Music.
Incubus, Drive. That's a good song.
Oh,
it was on the radio when I was driving over here.
Really, I have not listened to Incubus since I think it was Light Grenades. Maybe was the album. Because they had that really good album.
The song
Crow Left of Murder was a very good album by them, but I kind of lost track of them.
I've been listening to there's this song came out on Friday by Sam Smith, the guy who just like cleaned up at the Grammys this year. He like blew it away. He's the British guy with like the really, really high, what is it, falsetto or soprano voice, like really, really high. Yeah. And he sang the theme song for the new Bond movie, Spectre. The song is called The Writing on the Wall, or The Writings on the Wall.
Okay.
It is really good. It's this haunting melody, and he sings about like basically like losing somebody, like just being so obsessed with someone, and like being scared like when you're in love that they're not reciprocating, but it's like the combination of like just his voice and like the lyrics and thinking of it in terms of a Bond opener, over the opening credits, and thinking about the setup for the movie. It's hard to say. Hard to pick a favorite of any of those songs. I love Jack White's from Casino Royale. I love
that was Chris
Adele.
Cornell. I'm sorry. Jack White was Quantum of Solace. That was my mistake.
Oh, I did not know that.
Adele.
Skyfall. Nails it.
I'm not the biggest Adele fan, but I will say that was a very good song.
Totally.
She's got a set of pipes. Let me tell you.
Well, hopefully she still does. I know that she had to undergo throat cancer surgery
again.
Yeah, so she's like still working. That's why she hasn't done an albums for the last like 2 years, is because she just blew up with those 2 albums, and then she had to go. She hasn't been able to perform since. So hopefully she comes back, because she's really incredible. Such talent. Good stuff. Drugs.
Well, I think we were kind of touched on that with Narco, and then of course
we did.
P. Diz's
Cokehead over
Coke,
here.
Yeah, Cokey Booger Sugar. Yeah. Oh, a little.
Time to go mobile.
But I will tell you that. So Congress, they pass a whole bunch of different resolutions and stuff. They draft like these 1,200-page bills, and in one of those things that they kind of slipped innocuously in there, the feds are no longer going to come after states that have marijuana regulations.
It was in the 2016 budget package.
Thank you.
In order to avoid a government shutdown, it just came through this week, and in that 1,600-page document, they very quietly basically stopped the federal persecution of marijuana. They're making it very slowly. They're making it much easier. They said that was the biggest holdup, I think, from removing it from the Schedule 1 drug substances. So it's going to be much easier once they can do that. Businesses, in terms of the money that they can pay to taxes and having bank accounts, and just the flow of revenue is going to increase even more than it already is, and it's substantial right now.
Yeah, Colorado, and there's a lot of people that will certainly try to debase that, but the tax revenues that Colorado has had from having legalized put so many millions of dollars back into their education and different reforms that are benefiting the community as a whole.
The revenue is the only reason that marijuana is getting any traction whatsoever. It's not because society as a whole has changed its mind about the drug. It's because those in power need new revenue sources, and marijuana, they've already seen between Washington and Colorado that it is $70 million in taxes that just didn't even exist last year.
A small side stat is that crime has also been reduced significantly in that area.
Great point.
Coincidence or not?
No. I don't think it's coincidental at all. And it's not because people are smoking, but it's also because when you legalize a drug trade, you are eliminating a black market for that. You are wiping away the drive for criminals to be engaged in that. You're just taking it away from them. I mean, if you've been to California recently, nobody sells weed on the street. You can't find a drug dealer. Everyone, you ask somebody, anybody, hey, where do you get your weed? And they all ask you the same thing. Do you have a card? Where's your card?
Yeah.
And that's it. There are no drug dealers anymore because you can just go buy it
to a
legally.
dispensary and get yourself an ounce, like it's no big deal.
Completely.
You can grow legally up to a certain amount.
Yep.
And not be in trouble. If you get caught on this, and they did decriminalize it here in Illinois as well.
It is decriminalized in Illinois.
So, yes,
if you get caught, it's only
up to a certain amount.
Yes.
Yeah. Up to it's significant. It's
a dealer's amount. It's not like a personal usage amount.
Yeah. I know it's more than an ounce. I mean,
easily.
I want to say it's like something like 4 ounces. You can
That
have
sounds
4
about
ounces
right,
on
yeah,
you,
yeah.
and you won't get anything more than a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and it's like ticket, and you show up to. It's not. I don't think you even have to go to like a federal
You
court.
don't.
You just go to like a district.
Ticket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mail it in. You don't have to go anywhere. You mail in the fine.
A funny story. When I got busted back in December for possession, and yes, they slapped me in irons. Did I not tell you this?
No, you
The
didn't.
facial expression you just made it was priceless. Yeah,
slapped in irons.
They had 4 cops. My car ran out of gas on the side of the road, and I was calling AAA, and I was waiting for assistance.
Where, in Schaumburg?
Between Lombard and Downers Grove.
Okay.
And so it was between Cook and DuPage. So they had 2 DuPage cops and 2 Cook cops come.
That was probably the problem, though, too, because I know
me.
because it's Cook County that this decriminalization has happened in. DuPage, I don't know that they've done it.
But I think it was the Cook cops who took me into custody. And they put me in irons, and they brought me into booking. It was like a catch and release kind of scenario.
How much did you have?
None, but I had paraphernalia as well, and that's also a count.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
it ended
really
up being like $420, ironically.
Wow.
And I had to,
that is pretty funny.
I had to go to court. Yeah, it was
They were like, how much we charge?
$210. I kid you not.
Okay, did you really go to court, or was this like in somebody's back room, and then you had to pay in cash, and the judge just like takes it and puts it in their pocket and says,
"This was the district court judge.
You really lucked out here, kid."
In Wheaton, I believe, was the township, and I had to go to the municipal rooms, and they had a bailiff, and they had a court clerk. Yeah, it was legit. There was a bunch of other people there, and I won up, and then they assigned me the fines. I had to pay it, and that was it. And kind of end note on that. It's not even on my record. That's not even something that goes on your record. You know,
It better not. For $420 and you didn't even have any? Jesus Christ.
Like I had maybe enough for a pack. You know what I mean?
No, that's despicable. I don't even. That just makes me angry to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you didn't know that.
I'm sorry it happened.
I am too.
Crap. Sex. It's good stuff.
I mean, it is. You were just telling us about your experience.
I'll say that it's been very strange the last couple weeks at the apartment in Humboldt that I've been living in. This back porch we have is like this weird, bountiful, like
garden.
Yeah, it's like the holodeck or something on the Enterprise. I mean, I hang out back there, and it's like and subconsciously I'm putting the vibe out. You know, I'm like I just want some sex right now, but I don't want to go anywhere. I'm not trying to spit some game. I'm not going hunting. I'm not I'm not doing anything like that. So what happens?
How long have you been there?
Somebody beginning of July. I've been there now. I guess we're heading into the beginning of October, so this is my 3rd month.
And very so cool. This porch has given you sex.
Yes.
2 times in the last 2.5 months.
Yes.
Two times.
Two times.
You're on
same girl.
You're on once per each month. So you need to get in the next month or so to be on a once per month record.
I completely agree.
I just don't see why.
Fantastic.
I don't see why the porch can't provide.
No,
the porch will provide.
That's what I've been thinking today.
You put it out there. The porch will provide.
When I woke up this morning, that was my thought. I was like, the porch provides, man. Like that was literally just my thought. I'm like, this is absurd. I have never had
fantastic.
I've never had such good luck like that. You know, it's like, and it's just out of sheer laziness.
You're not using like red stoplights either, right? It's just you go out there.
Right. I don't have any like big signals, like a bat signal, like drawing people from around the city.
A truck horn install,
right, exactly. Or like a big neon sign that says like free sandwiches or something like that. You know what I mean?
You might get more than you bargained for showing up.
That's gonna draw way more dudes than chicks. You know, just mouth breathers coming from the bar. Just
where the sandwiches at? You guys got those in there? Definitely a few hungry people will show up.
Sure, yeah.
For that,
some late night chubbies.
So no, I am not going to put any neon signs up. I'm not going to change anything. It's been great.
Right, but it's been great. I mean, and
just to reiterate, I feel like we didn't really do a great job of explaining. On this back porch of my apartment, basically, in sitting there and not leaving with my roommates twice in the last 3 months with 2 separate girls, these girls just came out of nowhere, wound up on the back porch, started talking, and it led to sex without like any effort or any like movement or whatever from me. No money spent. No, I mean like nothing. Like so just absolute Jabba the Hutt sex move. You know what I mean? Like just parked, and then Leia saunters up and she's like, "Hey, what's up, big boy?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, you could get it."
And is it just like casual? I mean, it's not going to be any kind of relationships now. I'm assuming they're just showing up and they're like, "Oh, you're a good-looking guy. Do you like what you see? Yes, all right. Come back to my place."
Caveat: I should also mention that after the sex, it became very clear that both of these women were crazy. And I mean,
there is a catch to the porch. The porch will provide, but be mindful of how bountiful the porch can be.
Be careful what you wish for. Exactly. It's one of those where it's just like, "Oh yeah, like we'll get you some sex, and we'll get you a lifetime of fucking issues afterwards too, if if that's what you're like." The one girl across the alley from yesterday, she's got a boyfriend and 2 kids, and like
shit.
So no, that's not a regular thing that's going to be happening.
Legitimately, she's got 2 children and she's slobbing on your knob. I mean, call it what you want, but that's what it is.
I'm not going to call it that. I'll tell you that. It's like, I feel like we dropped there have been a little bit of offensive stuff is being spouted in this session over here. I heard the F-bomb dropped, not fuck, which is okay, but I don't even want to repeat it now. The F-A-G-G-O-T one. I literally can't even say that. Joe.
I'm sorry. Well, I exist in a
none of us smoke cigarettes anymore. Otherwise, it would be completely
then
acceptable.
It would be fine. You know, I could say,
I'd be like, "Oh, we're not British and we don't enjoy
that's
fires."
That's the other thing. I was like,
that's true.
right? I can't. Even if I did smoke, I'm not English. That's not my slang for my cigarettes. I call them cancer sticks or something. I wouldn't be able to say like, "Oh yeah, go pack of me fags."
I will say that Louis C.K. did debunk the word faggot in terms of the way that he used to use it in school. And that's a hilarious bit.
It's a great
I won't
bit.
go into it, but it's basically
bit.
saying, like, faggot didn't mean what it means now.
Right,
It used to mean just, like...
Just something to say.
You're being a faggot. Stop being a faggot.
Exactly. It was different.
I don't mean any harm using it, of course.
I know.
I'm not calling you homosexual. I'm just saying stop being a faggot.
Stop being a faggot.
Exactly. Perfect. Well put. Imagination.
Well, there's certainly...
Imagination.
That was almost tuneful, but excuse me, I think my left ear is bleeding.
No, I don't know. I was thinking of Barney. You ever see the Barney old Imagination Island? You guys ever see that one where it was like it's a home video, and it's actually the guy
starring Barney.
A home video with Barney and Baby Bop and all the kids,
God.
and they go to some Imagination Island, and the guy who plays it is I think it's. What's his name from Greece? Duty, one of the five, the Thunder, one of the T-Birds.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Clearly
bizarre.
a high point of his career.
Absolutely.
Clearly.
It's hard to make
Going
a whole
on to
video.
big and new exciting things.
Go on to Party City and more. Get a Barney costume.
Most successful musical of all time to a Barney home video.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, they got rid of it. It's been gone a while, but there used to be, I want to say it was Disney World, and they had some place called like Imagination Land, and they had Figment the Dragon, who was the mascot.
Nice.
And that's what I kind of thought of when I hear Imagination. Because I remember I used to have this little Figment figure, and he was maybe 2.5 inches tall. So like this purple and orange dragon, like completely ridiculous looking. But it was a mainstay of like Disney for a long time until they started to get crazy with like the Buzz Lightyear shoot-a-thon and the Simpsons. Oh, that's Universal. I'm sorry.
Right. I was thinking for some reason I also have a song in my head when you Imagination, but it's Willy Wonka. And it's like, what is it? Over be filled with your imagination. You'll be there. You'll be free. When he's when he leads them into the room of all edibles where you can eat everything. Exactly.
Yes.
That's it.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything
I am impressed.
Do it.
That is
nothing to it.
Yeah. Yes.
That
is exactly where my mind was
impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. There, buddy. Yeah, we got that.
That's good.
Almost every primetime cartoon sitcom has parodied that exact scene.
Yep, you are absolutely
did the exact thing.
right.
Family Guy,
of course.
and Futurama with the Grunkalunkas.
And why not though? Because it is, as we just talked about, we say imagination, and that scene so clearly pops up in my head, and that song and everything about it. It's just so iconic, and that's the thing about movies like that. It's that you view them at a certain time, and they leave such an impression that it's something you never really shake.
And I think that's important for anybody going forwards, whoever you are, to have those things that kind of shape who you are. And we were fortunate enough to not only have the Gene Wilder version, but we also, of course, did have the Johnny Depp version. And while it certainly is not as good, it is a refreshing new take on a classic. Yeah,
exactly. And you artistic freedom. People are licensed to do different things. And I mean, nobody wants to see a shot-for-shot remake of the old film. You got to do something different.
Imagination is like dreams. And what's interesting is a dream is a lot like, how when you're looking at a bright object with a dark object next to it, and then you close your eyes and you see that impression within your closed eyes. Mm-hmm. When you wake up in the morning after a very potent dream, but you have to scramble to remember it and write it down, it's like that fading image when you close your eyes after seeing a dark object. Movies are like that too.
Well put.
Except a little bit more permanent. In the case of the Willy Wonka one, it stays there, but it takes a lot longer to fade.
And especially
or
because
maybe
we
never
can
fades.
but especially because we can also rewatch movies. The movies give us the freedom to view multiple times, whereas dreams, unless you have a recurring dream, or you keep a dream journal, or you just have a great memory for them. Sometimes you've got these dreams and they might leave an impression, but you can't remember anything else about them. And that to me, chasing a dream, that you just woke up from in the morning, is like it's grasping at smoke, because it's just passing through your fist and you're trying to hold on to all these details, but you just can't.
That is true. Whereas imagination, just to kind of put it into perspective, I think imagination is what you make of it, and dreams you have no control over. Really, yes, of course they can talk about being able to lucid dream and kind of control what you dream about and being aware. But imagination is always with you. And I, for one, plan on never giving up my imagination. I never plan on truly growing up and becoming one of those boring old adults who sit around and talk about politics and Wall Street all day long. Oh, I want to talk about Clyborg and the Super Martians, you know what I mean?
Sure. We'll save that for the next show next week. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you for Joe Room, Pat Perez, both you guys for joining me, and I'm Don Kleppin, and we will pick this up again next week, hopefully. Thanks for tuning in. 'Cause the